So I want to talk about how to follow up with your credit trigger alerts. That means when one of your customers has their credit pulled for a mortgage with your competitor, you're going to get the notification via email or text, or maybe an alert inside of your CRM. Regardless, MonitorBase is going to send you a notification. Now, what you do next is going to determine hugely the success that you have with our platform. Now, we send out a letter and we send out an email to these. They're firm offers of credit. They let the customer know that they've been pre-qualified or pre-selected for a mortgage with you. And if they call the number on that letter, they reply to that email, it's going to go right to you. But it is important that you take some action as well. We are meeting the compliance requirements, but ultimately this is your relationship. And your ability to engage them is going to determine how much you get out of our system. So we recommend, generally speaking, doing at least a phone call, an email, or maybe a text message. So the script on that, this can be adjusted to your liking, but we really recommend take some time to read through our playbooks. Now, we've got these completely written out on our knowledge base. You can search it up specifically for this credit trigger alert. It's going to give you a little script. So it's basically going to say, hey, Jane, this is William LeBaron with MonitorBase. We worked together on a loan about 3 years ago. I'm reaching out because at MonitorBase, I have a system that periodically pre-qualifies my clients. Your name came up as someone who might be back in the market for a mortgage, and I wanted to reach out to see if that's something I could help you with. It's just a basic script. Just gives you an idea of how you can have this conversation, really start this conversation without coming right out and saying, hey, Jane, I've been watching you. Now, our playbook actually gives you a ton of information about the background of what goes into this alert. Things like, hey, this person has to meet your minimum credit criteria for you to even get a credit trigger on them. It gives you information about what you should be doing, how often you should be following up, and it will tell you the recommended script. So the basics of the script are pretty simple, and I'll walk you through a couple of these steps so that you can see. So the first thing you say is, hey, Jane, this is William LeBaron with MonitorBase, just reintroducing yourself. So part one, reintroduce yourself to the person, and then remind them of your last connection. This is where you're relying on maybe your memory or some CRM notes or something to tell you, hey, when did I last speak to Jane? So in this case, hey, I helped you do that refinance, or we looked at helping you buy your first home, but it never happened, right? Whatever it is, make that reference back to them, and then give them the reason for why you're calling today. So this is kind of a transition statement. And what I'm going to say in this situation is, so the reason I'm calling today is you may have seen a letter in the mail. And I have a system here at my company. And what it does is it periodically pre-qualifies my past customers and leads and lets me know when they're in the market or about to be back in the market for a mortgage. Your name actually came up as someone who may be in the market. And so I wanted to follow up and see if you were back thinking about buying. In this case, it's a previous first-time buyer that talked to me and never went through the process. So I'm going to ask if they're thinking about buying. If it's a past customer and they're triggering these, I'm going to ask them, hey, have you thought about selling your home? Are you thinking about moving up or moving down? Depending on the context of my last interaction with this person and what I know about them, I'm going to rely on that to do a little bit of digging and ask them questions and get them to talk about themselves. The goal here, guys, is to get them to say yes. You don't want them to say no. And so, if it's a current homeowner, I might ask them, hey, have you thought about selling your current home? This is simple because everyone's thought about selling their home, but at the end of the day, rates are really high. It's hard to afford a new home. And so they might come back with yes, but, and then it's very simple from there for the rest of this script to respond with a story. So your goal is to ask them a question where they say yes, but, or yes, I am, and then at that point, yes, I have been thinking about that, but I'm trying to find a property, and be like, yeah, I was working with somebody here. And this is where you tell that story. I was working with somebody like you, similar circumstances, similar challenges, similar market. They had the same concerns you have. They went through the process and it worked out well for them. And so the idea here, guys, is you don't have to talk someone into doing something that they don't want to do. You don't have to be a hard, pushy salesperson. You just have to get out there and tell them about other people with the same concerns as them who are going through similar circumstances, who end up getting a mortgage or buying a home or doing a cash out refinance or doing whatever the transaction is that they're trying to do, and it working out for their benefit. And the nice thing is, It's what we do here as loan officers, as mortgage professionals, all day, every day. So it's not hard to come up with an example. Now, from there, especially with this credit trigger alert, regardless of what kind of loan program they're thinking about, you basically have someone that, they might be like, yeah, I'd be willing to let you give me a second opinion. You might have someone say, no, let me think about it, or I'm not sure. And then you might have people just say flat out no. Obviously, if they say, I want a second opinion, they're in the market with someone else, within minutes of that credit pull. Follow up, give them the information, answer questions. You be that person's Johnny on the spot. But if they give you a maybe or a no, regardless, set some time apart in 2 to 3 weeks and follow up. What you'll see is there's something magical about 2 to 3 weeks from that first credit pull, where this person, regardless of what lender they're working with, they have a high likelihood of feeling neglected at that point. Maybe an appraisal didn't come in like they wanted it to. Maybe that loan officer is just neglecting them. Maybe things are going as good as they could possibly be going, but it's just a tough market, guys. Things are hard. They've maybe had some offers rejected. Whatever it is, in 2 to 3 weeks, they're going to be more disenchanted than they were when you first speak with them on day 0, when it's all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So my recommendation on these, use that script. Use that follow-up sequence, and then make sure, if you get a maybe or if you get a no, touch base with them, make sure everything's going well in 2 to 3 weeks. And you will find that is as helpful as anything in turning these credit trigger alerts into deals in your pipeline. Remember, if you don't do anything here, they're gone. They've already left you. They're going to close that loan with someone else. So you don't have a lot to lose. And those are some of the best practices around following up with credit trigger alerts.